If you're choosing taxi driving as a living, Casino Taxi is the place to be.
The amount of fares that you're going to take throughout the day, the amount of different personalities that you have to be open.
Disability is just a characteristic. Some people are deaf, some people are hearing, some people are tall, some people are short. They're just characteristics, and some characteristics are grouped together and called disability. And that might be something like deafness or the inability to walk or something like that. Here in Halifax, we see an increasing number of taxis that are accessible, and people with disabilities are using them more and more.
The goal of this video is to get our drivers thinking about how they service someone with a disability and how they can be a part of the solution. Casino Taxi is a third-generation family business. My grandfather bought the company in the 1950s. I would like to think that my grandfather would be proud of the fact that we're trying to be as accessible for the community as possible. You know, his vision was to provide the most accessible transportation possible. It wasn't necessarily aimed at those with disabilities, but it was more aimed at everyone. You know, all clients in Halifax, I think they should be treated equally and treated with respect.
Hi, my name is Steve Esty, and I live in Dartmouth, Nova Scotia. And I'm what people call late deafened. So I was a hearing person for most of my life, but about 10 years ago I started to really lose my hearing, and about maybe 8 years ago or so I lost my hearing completely, so now I don't hear anything at all. What makes a taxi ride enjoyable, really, is just to get in and have no fuss about it. Just to have the taxi driver be accepting and say to me, oh, okay, if you can't hear, no problem. We'll get you where you need to go.
It's not all about having all the answers. Sometimes it's all about obtaining the answers and building yourself up and enhancing your services by, you know, being open, asking the questions that need to be asked, and you know, realizing that it's nothing to be afraid of.
I think I'd say to the cab driver, hey, that person is just a normal person and they're very accustomed to being disabled. So if you've got questions and you don't know what to say to them or how to respond to them, just ask. Just say, hey, I've never met a deaf person before. What do you need me to do? Somebody get into your cab and they start to move their hands around in sign language and stuff. You don't know what they're saying. Write down on a piece of paper, where do you need to go, and give them the piece of paper, and they could write down the address of where they need to go.
Hearing impaired passengers are people who want to be treated with the same respect and courtesy as any other passenger. Be yourself, be professional, and keep these handy tips in mind. Not all hearing disabled people are totally deaf. Speak so the customer can see your face. Don't raise your voice. Don't slow down your speech. Keep a pen and paper handy. If you're not understood, be patient and try again.
Everyone likes to be treated with common courtesy and respect. Pity sucks. People don't like that. People don't like to be pitied. It might take a little more effort or time to speak with people who have a cognitive disability, but you might have to repeat yourself a couple of times, that sort of thing. It's part of their reality, and they deserve as much respect as the next person. In fact, a good friend of mine has cerebral palsy, and he speaks in a very unique kind of way, I would say, and he's often had taxi drivers say to him that they thought that he was intoxicated, when in fact that's not the case. So you really ought not to jump to conclusions based on the way somebody speaks.
I think it's of utmost importance not to judge. We have a lot of drivers from a lot of walks of life, a lot of different backgrounds and circumstances. It's very important for us to arm the drivers with the proper tools. We want to give them the confidence to handle every situation that comes toward them, and to be successful as a cab driver in Halifax.
Cognitive or mental disabilities can be hard to spot. Sometimes it's obvious, but sometimes physical appearance is totally normal. Here are some things to keep in mind. Do not judge a customer by their appearance. Ask your customer if they need help. Don't assume. If your customer speaks slowly, be patient. Do not talk down to people. Always be respectful.
There are all kinds of mobility challenges. People can use a wheelchair sometimes, but also people use walkers or canes, that kind of thing.
Sometimes folks with a mobility issue may require a little bit more time getting to the vehicle. They may require certain things like to sit in the front seat, or a little bit of assistance in exiting or entering the vehicle. So I think that patience is the number one key.
I think a lot of times there's a tendency to assume that you may know that a person needs assistance and that kind of thing. If you think a person might need a hand with something, then you ask them if they need a hand with their wheelchair, with their crutches, whatever it is. Don't just simply grab the chair or push the chair. None of that kind of stuff. Nobody appreciates it. A person in a wheelchair considers the wheelchair to be an extension of their body. You just think of themselves, you think of yourself, and you wouldn't want to be pushed into a taxi or pushed around. We'd want somebody to ask, and that's what the way a person in a wheelchair is. Ask the person first and be guided by what they say. If they need a hand, they'll say so.
Physical disabilities are broad. Be professional, be courteous, and keep these do's and don'ts in mind. You'll be fine, and your passengers will appreciate the effort. Don't assume your customer needs help. Ask first. Do not push someone's wheelchair without asking first. Handle all equipment with great care. Park as close as possible to the pickup and drop-off location. Make sure you leave extra space for loading and unloading. Leave yourself extra time and be patient. Don't pity, it's offensive.
When you pick up a fare that person has a visual disability of some sort, a good idea is to introduce yourself, your name and where you work and so on, so they're comfortable, they know who they're with. If you're not sure about a person's visual loss, then you can ask them what they can see, what they don't see, and how you might be able to help them. Some people with visual impairments travel with service animals, a guide dog or whatever. You need to keep in mind that those dogs aren't pets, they're working dogs, so you ought not to pay attention to them. Don't pat them or anything like that. The dog needs to be focused on its job. When you drop a person with a visual impairment off, it only takes a few extra seconds to tell them if there are obstacles or traffic, things that they should watch out for. They'll certainly appreciate it.
Thank you.
Visual impairments are common. Most situations just require common sense and perhaps a little extra attention. Remember these pointers and you'll see it's just another normal ride. Always identify yourself. Ask if your passenger needs assistance, don't just assume. Allow them to take your arm. Move at their pace, not yours. Scan your drop-off areas for obstacles and tell your customer. It's very important not to touch a service animal without the permission of the owner. Do not refuse anyone with a service animal. It's against the law. Tell the passenger when you're leaving.
We do take pride in the role that Casino Taxi plays in helping people with their accessibility across the city. We want to make sure that we're helping to pull down some of the barriers that these folks face on a daily basis.
If you realize that the customer has a little bit more mobility issues, then maybe you're going to get out there and help them, not just sit in your taxi when they're getting out of the taxi.
My experience with Casino has been great. Neat thing for me as a deaf person is recently guys got an app, so now I can actually call Casino on my iPhone independently, and that's great for me. I really appreciate it.
I think every driver has the opportunity in every interaction with the client to set a positive or a negative tone. And I think if we set the positive tone, the client will come back to us and they will choose us time and time again.